Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andriy Shevchenko. On behalf of Mediacentru Ukraine, I would like to welcome all the journalists telling the world about our struggle for freedom. Today is August 29th, and Ukraine is commemorating the memory of those Ukrainian fighters who had fallen during the Ilovaisk tragedy. In 2014, on this day, the Russians fired at a huge column of Ukrainian military, leaving along a humanitarian corridor, leaving from Ilovaisk along a humanitarian corridor. At this briefing, we'll be talking to Oleksandr Starukh, head of the Zaporizhzhia Oblast military administration. Hello, sir. Hello. It's been a very heavy 24 hours for your oblast. Most recently, we were watching the news from Enerhodar, from the nuclear power plant, and other places. Can we start with Enerhodar? We know that yesterday the enemy um, used artillery to shell residential areas of the city in Enerhodar. What's the situation today? The situation continues to be as difficult as it was. The aggressor have not changed their tactics. Yesterday's shelling led to the fact that 10 residents of Enerhodar were wounded. Two are difficult. All of the senseless actions of the occupier persist. At the same time, our rescue services have worked, and our medics have given assistance, have offered medical assistance. Um, but the situation continues to be dire. People continue to evacuate from Enerhodar and the region because these difficult conditions are very difficult. Yes. What is the goal? What is the point? What is the object? Is there any military logic behind the actions of the enemy? Well, the enemy, you can find logic in any actions. I think what they're doing is nuclear terrorism, nuclear blackmail to force our leadership to, to do things. I think that's their goal, and I think they're demonstrating to the world community um, this kind of it's a game of chicken with the world community, I think, and they're keeping the local population on their toes, so to speak. Um, Prior to this, they'd been using new methods in agitation and propaganda, right? Using the so-called referendum when they were shooting at buildings in Chernihivtsi and blaming the Ukrainian armed forces for this, when 5 people died, including 2 children. So the methods, like the explosions we had when when this person was coming to power in their country, they started by blowing up houses, and they're using the same methods in our country, including in Hodar. Yes, we've had information on the news that the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, a delegation of the IAEA, of the International Atom Energy Agency, is visiting Zaporizhzhia. This kind of shelling just before their visit, to what extent, how should we interpret it? To what extent is it a warning? To what extent does it increase the security risks for the delegation? The shelling continues every day, and in our territory, I think we'll do our best. We'll do our level best. All of our services will do their best to provide the security of the IAEA delegation in Ukraine-controlled territory. At the same time, the territory beyond the village of Kamiansk, I don't think anybody can guarantee anything because we can't foresee the actions of these people. The Director General of the IAEA said that he's bringing a delegation to guarantee the security of the largest nuclear reactor in Ukraine and in Europe. What results do you anticipate from this mission? I, guaranteeing is a very broad term. It's not exactly specific. My main expectation is demilitarization. At least that the enemy have to leave, have to withdraw from the nuclear station, remove all of their heavy weapons, all of their ammo, and and not only do any kind of actions in the area of the station of the plant that are not opposite to logic. So, firstly, demilitarization. How will this delegation reach the power plant? I mean, there's a road. There's a road to the power plant. People leave the occupied territories by this road every day. Thousands of people. We've had about 400 people leave yesterday, mostly children. So the road is there. It's the Narodar is reachable by the same road. It's there. Does this mean that we need agreements on additional security guarantees for this delegation? Look, we can guarantee we can only guarantee security on the territory where our guarantee. I mean, we can't guarantee the actions of the aggressor. We can only guarantee their security on our territory. To change the geography a bit, yesterday there was heavy shelling in Orikhiv. According to the news, there were ceaseless firing for about 14 hours. What's the news there? Orikhiv continues to find itself in these situations. Our cities and our communities continue to defend, continue to hold the line for the Zaporizhzhia Oblast and the Ukraine. This has been going on since March. Hulaypole, Orikhove are the biggest targets. There have been weeks and months when, from evening to, from late afternoon until two in the morning, there would be shelling. I mean, it's become a little bit calmer, but recently there have been more shelling. Yesterday, they were extremely intense with the artillery and the. We have victims where Orikhov and Preobrazhenka are next to each other, and we have victims, including two children. Fortunately, they're all alive. They've been given treatment, and our rescue services, our firemen have have put out the fires. The enemy continues to strike, unfortunately, in violation of the rules of the war. The mayor of Melitopol said that yesterday there was either firing or gunshots. One version was that this was a hunt for a Ukrainian drone. Do you know anything about this? What was it? So these information, I mean, this kind of information has to come either from the headquarters. So considering that I don't have any information, um, we agree all of our military themed uh, statements with the military administration. I can't say anything. Are there any news about the planned referenda in occupied territories, so-called referenda? I would prefer not to use the word referenda. Russia doesn't have the law on referenda. They've never had a referendum there. The only reason for a referendum there is that one person comes to a mirror, asks themselves, and answers their own question. We call this a informational special operation in an attempt to legitimize their presence in occupied territories. That story continues. This special operation has been postponed several times since April. The collaborators and occupiers, under the tutelage of the Russian services, continue to do something. I mean, even the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, when people say something, 2/3 of our population, 65% of our population, are in Ukraine-controlled territory. Zaporizhzhia Rayon, and people who have left, several 100,000 people who have left. So even from that viewpoint, there's no conversation really. That's going to be it for us today. Oleksandr Starukh, head of Zaporizhzhia Oblast Military Administration, with the latest news over the past few days. Thank you very much for this information, sir. And please continue to follow our announcements. Stand with Ukraine.